Okay, now let us discuss about checkpoint clustering. So in checkpoint, we call it as clustering instead of saying it as HA. Like we used to call it as HA in Palo Alto, right? But in checkpoint, we call it as clustering. So we're gonna cluster two devices, and you're gonna have active standby method where one firewall will be working, the other firewall will be taking rest, which is active standby method. Standby method. The other one is active, where both the firewalls will be working actively. Okay, so there are certain prerequisites we have for configuring HA. So the prerequisite is, which means I'll call it as HA, but in checkpoint you don't see any word called HA. In checkpoint you call it as a cluster. But if I say HA, then I mean the same. Okay, so there are a few prerequisites that we have. The first thing is, let me take a screenshot of this topology. Okay, so both the firewalls have to run the same OS, right? If you are running R80.10, both firewalls should run the same thing, and the licensing part should be same, right? If you have license for URL filtering in this firewall, if you don't have license for URL filtering in this firewall, they cannot become VPN, also they cannot become the HA pair. And so the licensing part should be same. You should have the same license. And the next thing is, it have to be same model number. If you have some model number here and if you're trying to have another model number here, again they'll throw some error. So it should be the same model number. Physical appliance should be the same model. And also they should have the same number of interfaces, right? Even in certain model numbers, you have different interfaces. If you have 4 interfaces here and if you have 6 interfaces here, then they cannot become the cluster, or they cannot put them in the cluster. They have to be the same device, exactly the same device. You have to buy the device, 2 devices, and you can put them in the clustering. Okay, so let me go and start these devices. So I'm going to start primary and active. So the concept is, we're going to have a virtual IP concept, which both the firewalls will be listening to, and this virtual IP will be configured as a gateway for this machine. So once I proceed the configuration, you will be able to understand what I mean by. Okay, so first let's go and start these devices. Start the primary, start the backup, and start the SMS. Okay, so first, see, basically, when you have a firewall, right? According to our lab, any checkpoint firewall device that you have, the ET0 interface will have the IP address automatically. Right? We never configured the primary IP address of any device. If you take a firewall, the primary IP address of this firewall will be 1.1, which will be always there, and the primary IP address of this SMS will be always 1.2. We never configured, right? We generally used to configure the other interfaces only, right? We used to configure the IP address of ETH2, we used to configure the IP address of ETH1. So those things we configure, but ETH0 is always the same IP address. Okay, so the same way, right? This is I created a firewall which is having a default IP address of 1.1 to the ETH0 interface. And now this interface is also a clone, right? So we have this guy is the original. And what I just did is I made a clone of this firewall, and I have a clone here, which means since it's a clone, the clone will also have what IP, right? So if you have 1.1 here, the clone is also going to have 1.1 only. I'm telling you, right? Since we have the same device, two different same devices, 2 different firewalls, or I'm just having 2 different instances of the same device, you're gonna have 1.1 IP address on both the devices. Okay? But in reality, what we have to, or to have the HA pair, what you have to do, you cannot have 2 firewalls on the same IP address. We have to configure 1.1, and this guy I'm going to configure as 1.3. Why not 1.2? 1.1, since 1.2 is given to this SMS, I'm going to configure 1.3 here. So I'm going to have this guy 1.2, this guy 1.3, and the primary gateway will be, or can be accessed with a primary IP address of 1.1. The backup gateway can be accessed with a backup IP address of 1.3, or the primary IP address of the primary IP for the backup gateway is, or the main IP address for the backup gateway is 1.3. So let's go and first do that. I'm going to go to the primary is already having the required IP address 1.1. The secondary we have to go and change it, or the backup we have to go and change it. So let us go and configure him. Admin 123. Okay. So here, when you go and see the IP address, show interface ETH0, you can see the interface is having what IP address? We're having the interface as 1.1, but we want the backup to have the IP address 1.3 as a main IP address. So let's go and do that. Set interface ETH0, and the IP address that I wanted to configure is IPv4 address 100 dot IP4 address 192.168.1.3, and the net mask or the subnet mask is going to be 255.255.2.0. Yes. I think yes, we are done. So this is a command that I gave. So we have the IP address for that interface as 1.3. So now we have 1.1, we have 1.3. Let us go and start this Windows machine and check if I can reach all the three devices, 1.2, 1.1, and 1.3. It's a virtual IP address 1.4, which we'll be configuring after a few minutes. So first, let us go and recheck the reachability of these devices. So let me open. So we have the command prompt. Ping 192.1. So I think we have to configure the IP address to this guy first. Let's go and configure him an IP address. Properties, IP4. 192.168.1.5 he is. 192.168.1.1 or 1.4 is going to be the gateway. Understand why I configure 1.4 is after the HA setup is done, this 1.4 IP address is going to be the gateway IP for all the clients, because that 1.4 IP address is a virtual IP that both the machines will be listening to, right? So this machine can be directly accessed with 1.1. This machine can be directly accessed with 1.3. But if you want to have a HA environment, or if you want the client to reach internet, if still the primary fails, so 1.4 should be the IP that you have to configure, right? This is kind of a concept if you guys know, there is a concept called HSRP in Cisco, or at CCNA we used to learn about HSRP. This was exactly this. In HSRP, we have a virtual IP address in which both the devices they listen to. That is what exactly we're doing here. You're having a virtual IP address 1.4, which both the devices will listen to, and that virtual IP address will be the gateway for the Windows 7 machine, right? So I'm going to configure the virtual IP address as 1.4 here, and we're going to go and configure the DNS is 8888. So 1.5 PC IP 1.4, the virtual IP, which is the gateway for the PC. Okay. Let's go and try to reach 1.192.168.1.1. Okay, 1 primary is responding, SMS is responding, backup is also responding. Yes, we have all the devices responding to us. Now we have to go and do the first time wizard for all the devices. Okay, let us go and do that. So Internet Explorer, first time wizard have to be done on all the devices. This guy and this guy, we're going to treat them like a normal gateway. Right? See, primary and secondary will be decided later only. Right? Now this guy will be treated like a gateway. The same way this guy will also be configured as a gateway. So we're not gonna say any primary secondary during the first time visa, right? So we're gonna separately configure them, independently configure them, like generally how you configure SMS and a gateway. Okay, let's go to the browser and type the IP address HTTPS 192.168.1.1. Let's go to the next device, next tab, HTTPS 192.168.1.2, and we're gonna have the third device, which is HTTPS 192.168.1.3. So we'll configure devices one by one. Okay, so we have the primary gateway came up. Let us go and configure him now. The same way admin 123. We log into this device. Admin 123. And we log into the third device. Admin 123. Okay. So let us do the first time wizard for the primary gateway. So next. Why is this not coming up? Let's go back and come again. Next. Okay, there you go. So we have this. Next. Okay, next. So usually we configure this as next nexus, right? And here, when it comes to the, I'm going to configure this guy as primary, and the DNS is 8888. Next, and this guy is going to be security gateway. So next, activation key, root 123. So finish. Okay, so let him start the wizard. I'm just going to start the next guy. So we have the SMS here. You go and type the IP address again to reach the SMS. Okay. I think meanwhile we can go and configure the 1.3, which is also a security gateway. After finishing this, we can come to this 1.2 SMS. We finish this. Next. Come on. Okay, I don't know what is wrong. Let me refresh this and try again one more time. So I'm configuring 1.3 right now, which is the gateway, which is the backup gateway. So we'll just go next. Okay, here we'll go and configure MS backup 8888. Next. So he's also going to be security gateway only. So see, just the difference right now is primary and backup. Just the name difference. Apart from that, both gateways are treated the same way during the first time wizard. Next. Okay, the activation key is root 123. Root 123. Okay, finish. It will start. So once let him finish the first time wizard, we can go and configure the 1.2 is now. So this is going to be an SMS now. We'll go and configure him. We'll close and open this. Okay, so we'll configure the SMS now. Admin 123. Next. So we'll have the name as SMS and the name 8888. Okay, this guy is going to be security management, so we have to uncheck security gateway. Next. Okay, so let me start the wizard. So we're gonna go and configure the IP addresses. So now what happened is, so we configured the first time wizard for the primary device and the backup device, and the SMS is also, it's configuring the first time wizard. So I wanted to go to the primary device, and already the 1.1 IP address is there, and I just want to configure the other interfaces. See, I'll tell you why this interface is required. So this interface is the interface which we call it as a sync interface. So synchronization interface, and what it will sync is, it will sync all the configuration plus the sessions, right? For example, if I make a rule, see, usually what will happen is, let's say you're configuring a security policy and you create a security policy in the Chennai SMS, and if this guy is acting like a primary and this guy is acting like a secondary or a backup, the Chennai SMS will push the policy only to the primary device, right? And the primary device will push the policy to the secondary device via this link, right? So that the configuration synchronization will be there. Something that you create on this firewall will be there on this firewall as well, right? But what is which device the SMS will contact? The SMS will contact only the primary device. It won't contact the second device separately. Got it? So the policy pushing will go from your piece to the SMS to the primary to the secondary or backup. Okay, so for that we need a separate link. All the session tables will be added. Session in the sense ARP table, network address translation table, those things. No, those are the session tables, right? Those information will be also traveling on this wire itself. In Palo Alto, we have a separate control link and data link, right? In control link, you will have the configuration changes, right? In the data link, we have the session information. So we have two links separately for control and data. Whereas in checkpoint, we have a single link in which both the configuration control, kind of a control link in Palo Alto, and then data link session will be transferred in the in the checkpoint device with a single interface itself. Okay, so that is why I have this interface. So this interface is going to be the sync interface, and this interface going to be 2.1. This interface is going to be 2.3. Right? Everyone is going to have a different IP address. So 1.1, 2.1, 3.1, 1.3, 2.3, 3.2. Okay, let us go and configure that on the primary and secondary device first. Let us go and configure this guy. Where is the first device? Okay, let us go and log into the first device, admin 123. Okay, so the interface I'm going to edit. E1 is going to be 3.2. Enable the interface. Sorry, it's going to be 3.1. 192.168.3.1. The mask is 255.255.255.0. And this ETH2 interface, if you see the ETH2 interface, ETH2 is here. ETH2 is here. This is going to have the IP address of 2.1. So enable 2.1, 255.255.255.0. So basically what we have here is we have only two zones. We don't have any DMZ zone. So we have this zone called as inside, and we have this zone called as outside. We don't have DMZ, so it's just going to be inside and outside. This will be inside interface, this will be outside interface. And this IP address is going to connect us to the router, and the router will connect us to the internet. Okay, so that way it is. Let's go and configure the next firewall. So we have these IP addresses configured, and also we can also configure static routes. So the default static route. So IP4 static routes. Default, click on this edit, and I'm going to configure add IP address. So the next top IP address, if you see the topology, you can very well see for this firewall or for this firewall, both the firewalls, the next top IP address is what? The next top IP address is 2.2 only. That is the router IP address, which will connect us to the internet. So we have 2.2 as the next top IP address, 192.168.2.2. We'll give OK. Save. Good. So yes, now we have configured default route event. Let us go and configure 1.3. The same setting, IP address and then default route. Admin 123. Okay. So let's go to this device. I'm in 1.3 right now. Same thing we have to configure. This is a secondary firewall. Can you see backup firewall this is? And we have to configure the second interface, which is 3.2 here. Enable IP address 192.168.3.2. 3.2. 19, sorry, mask is going to be 255.255.255.0. Okay, so we did this. We configured this interface, already configured this interface. We configured now. We just want to configure this interface and then a default route to that IP. Okay, let's do that. Edit 192.168.2.3 The mask is 0. Just give me a minute. Just give me a minute, I'll be back. So yes, so we can go and configure the backup firewall with the IP address. I think we configured the IP address 2.3. We just want to configure the static route at home. So add a default static route, add gateway, IP 192.168. Okay, good. So let's go and I think everything is done. So we configured the primary and secondary gateway, even the SMS is ready. So now what we have to do is we have to go and take this. You have to use this Windows machine to connect to the SMS, and from the SMS we can go and configure the clustering of both the firewalls. Okay. Let's close all these ways. No, the first time wizard is done, so we can close the browser. You can open the smart console device, and we can connect to 1.2, which is the SMS. Let me log into the SMS admin 123. And meanwhile, right, since we configure the default route, I would like to check the reachability from this firewall. So let us take the primary and backup and ping 888, and we can see if they are reachable. So admin 123 and ping 8888. Yes, it's working good. We'll take the backup now. Admin, sorry, admin 123. I think the password is wrong. Please wait, let me try again. Admin 123. Okay, ping 8888. Yes, so they have the internet reachability. Okay, so one thing, right? So we are actually trying to connect to the SMS right now, but in order to put these two devices on the cluster, right? Now, in order to put these two devices on the cluster, what we have to do is we have to enable the clustering feature on the firewall. So by default, the firewalls won't accept clustering. The firewalls won't accept clustering, and we have to go and enable that feature, and you have to say the firewall, hey firewall, you're going to be a member of a cluster, so just try to behave accordingly. So we're going to go and configure that. So we are connecting to the SMS. Right? This is the SMS. We are trying to reach the SMS. Meanwhile, before we add them into the SMS device, I want to go and configure I want to go and enable the clustering feature, right? So that have to be done definitely. Understand? Right now we have the SMS access. So we are into the SMS, and right now the SMS doesn't have any gateway. No gateway added into the SMS. Before you add the gateway, you have to go and enable that feature. So you have to go and type, I'm on the primary device right now, cpconfig. And can you see? Point number 6, enable cluster membership for this gateway. You have to enable this. So we just give 6, and 6 is number to enable it. And it says, have you selected, you have selected this and you wanted to go ahead? Yes. And after this, it says, okay, after the reboot only, After the reboot only, this will take effect. So I just wanted to reboot. Okay. I think it says the database has been locked. We'll just go and type this command and then reboot. Okay, yes. Okay, it's rebooting. Now we'll do the same thing for the backup as well. So cp config and the option 6 I have to choose, and then say yes, and then we have to reboot. It's gonna say the same error. When I give reboot, it says okay. It says the lock database override. You have to use this command to override the lock and then reboot. Yes. Okay. So after both the firewalls came up, now we can add these two devices on the SMS, and then we can go and create a cluster. I think they are booting. So don't forget this, guys, because generally students, they'll try to configure all these settings in the firewall, but they'll forget to enable this HA feature. So it have to be enabled before you add to the gateway. Just enable it and add it to the before you add it to the SMS, enable it and add it to the SMS. I think yes, the primary is ready. The secondary should also be ready anytime now. So let's go and add the primary device now. So I'm just going to go and add a new gateway. I'm going to say the name is primary. Open 192.168.1.1. That's the IP address, right? That's the IP address of the primary device. Let's give next. And saying for one-time password, root 123. Okay. So can you apologize? This is the device that we wanted. We close and uncheck this, and then click on finish. Okay. Now the backup is also ready. Let's go and add backup. I have a backup. Open server, IP address 192.168.1.3. Okay, this is the IP address of that guy, the backup guy. 1.3. Let's give next. One-time password is same, root 123. So yes, this is the device that we want. 1.3, 2.3, and then 3.2. Okay. Now let's go and commit this. So we're gonna give the install policy, and so that we can see the status of these two guys coming up, and then we can go and add them to the clustering. Okay, yes, install both devices. So what is going to be installed right now is there is a security policy, right? There is a default security policy called cleanup rule. That security policy will be installed on the gateway, but not a problem, right? After installing, we can, after clustering, we can go and change the security policy. Right now, what will be installed? When you try to install the policy, what policy will be installed is, so this policy, the cleanup rule will be installed on the firewall. Okay, good. So we have the status coming up now. Also, the cleanup policy is installed. Very good. Now let us go and add them to the gateway. So I'm just going to click on the new cluster. Sorry, what I was about to say is let us add them to the cluster. So we have two devices, and I'm going to add them to the cluster. I'm going to click on new cluster, wizard mode, and the cluster name, we can have the cluster name is cluster 1. And what is the IP address? See, what is the public virtual IP that we have? Because once you configure the cluster IP address, once you configure the cluster IP address, any policy that you push will be pushed to that device, that IP only 1.4. So what I mean by that is, so once all the clustering process is over, what happens is this guy will be having 1.4, or this guy will be having 1.4. Or is an active firewall, that guy will be having 1.4. If he has 1.4, he'll not have it. If this guy is having 1.4, he'll not have it. And now basically what happens is, right, after one guy will be taking 1.4, let us say the primary is having 1.4 and the secondary will not have 1.4, because if the primary is active, the secondary will not be there, or secondary, no need for the secondary at all. So what happens is, once you put them into the cluster and you have an IP address of 1.4, now from the firewall, sorry, from the PC to the SMS, the SMS will push the policy to 1.4 only. Understand? The SMS will push the policy to 1.4. Right now, how it is pushing the policy? I don't know, if you don't have an HA environment, if you have just only one device, that will be 1.1 IP address, and the SMS will push a policy to 1.1, and all the policy will be pushed to 1.1, because that's the IP address that we have. Now, after the clustering, the firewalls, they'll have their own independent IP address, but they'll also have a common IP, virtual IP 1.4, which the active device alone will be taking. So now any policy that you push on the SMS will be pushing it to the virtual IP 1.4, which means if this guy is active, this guy will get that policy, and this guy will install the policy and he'll share that policy to the him. Right? So this is very, very important. You have to configure the proper IP address. Right? What IP address you give here is going to be the IP address that the SMS will be pushing the policies after clustering. Right? Before clustering, you can push policy separately to 1.1 and 1.3. After clustering, you cannot do it. You can push the policy to the cluster common IP, which is 1.4, right? So you have to have this. So you have two types of clustering solution. One is high availability, the other one is load sharing. So simply what it says, R80.20 cluster with load sharing is not supported to create virtual load sharing. Okay. So anyway, right, it says R80.20 cluster with load sharing is not supported. I don't know, we are running it on R80.10, why it's saying R80.20. Okay, maybe higher version needs it. Okay, that's okay, right? Anyway, we're not going to go with load sharing and all. Load sharing is nothing but an active concept. Right? We can do the load sharing in another way. There is another way to configure load sharing. I'll tell you that. We're gonna talk about the high availability is nothing but active standby. Which is gonna have active standby method, and we're gonna have load sharing the other method. Right? So this is a solution that we wanted to have. And in high availability itself, in active standby itself, we have multiple ways. Right? One is VRRP, the other is checkpoint cluster Excel. This is a checkpoint solution. This is VRRP. It's a it's an open standard for redundancy, like how we have HSRP. We have VRRP as well, and other older protocols we have. But I'm going to go with the recommended one, which is checkpoint cluster Excel. That's the checkpoints solution for high availability. That's a checkpoints proprietary protocol. So I'm just going to go this and select this default and just go with next. Okay. See, when you click on next, the next window will appear after 10 seconds, maybe close to 10 to 15 seconds. Don't press the next one more time. So you will be landing upon the third page. Right? Just click next and wait for 10 seconds, and then you can see the second page. If you click next couple of times, then it will take you to the third page. Right? So please wait after giving next in the first page. Okay. Now we have to add the gateway, right? Which what are the members of the cluster? Now let me go and add existing gateway. Since we have the gateway already added to the SMS, we can add the existing gateway. So we'll have primary first, and it says, okay, if you add the primary, it will remove all the settings, right? All the policies will be cleared, and few configurations will remain same, which is 6, secure internal communication. That password will not change. If there is any VPN running, that will not change. If there is any NAT, that will not be changing. Apart from this, every other configuration will change. Right? It's going to be like a new firewall, because we are putting it with a cluster. Now they won't have the old configuration apart from these three settings. These three settings will remain, but other things will be cleared. So yes, we are okay with it because we don't have any configuration right now. Let us give next, and it says the following products installed on this. Just give yes. Okay, it's going to appear here now. Primary. Add one more gateway, which is a backup gateway now. Okay, yes. Okay, we have added both the devices. Let us give next now. Okay, it says okay, we created the cluster. Fine. So let us go and okay, let us go and finish. Okay. Now we have the cluster here. Now when you check this, you have primary, and then you have the backup. So okay, fine. We added the cluster. Let us go and install the policy, right? Because we added it, but we have to install the policy for them to come up. Let's go and install the policy. It'll show, please wait. Okay, I think we have to install, and once we install, we should be able to get this status. Let's go and install now. The installation is in progress. Okay, I think, is it failing? What is the reason? Okay, fine. So I understood why it is not working. See, after adding them to the cluster, we have to go and configure the cluster property. We have to change the cluster property. Yeah, I was actually thinking of this only. So when you go to the general properties and in the window, after don't commit it, right? Don't install the policy. After adding the devices to the cluster, you have to go and click on the network management and go and get interface with topology. Now we're going to get the interface with topology, which is usually we used to get, right? Usually we used to get with one firewall. Now we're going to get the topology with the cluster in place. Okay, so now this is what exactly the firewall is expecting. Okay, that is why it was a failed installation. So let us go and click on this. So we can edit this interface E0 and E0, right? E0 interface, what type of interface it's going to be? It's going to be a cluster or sync or both. Cluster is a interface, right? And which means cluster in the sense two devices, they're going to share their interface. That's what cluster is. And private is something that you can have without, it will not be in the part of the cluster, or it won't be in the part of HA, but cluster says, okay, this interface have to win interface, which, like what I'm trying to say is, this is what exactly cluster is. These two interfaces are cluster interfaces. Okay. So this interface and this interface, they are clustered, which means these both interfaces will listen to one common IP address of 1.4. That's what I'm putting both the interfaces in the same cluster, right? Whereas these interfaces, they are not the cluster interfaces. They are what? They are sync interface, right? And also you can also have one more type called private, which means private in the sense that guy doesn't even participate in the cluster, so he's separately over there, right? You can also have certain interfaces completely in a separate manner. So we're going to have these two interfaces clustered together, so they'll listen to one virtual IP address of 1.4, whereas these two guys are going to be the sync interface, right? You can also, so I have a cluster interface separately and I have a sync interface separately, but sometimes if you don't have enough interfaces, you can choose both, right? You want that interface to be a cluster, at the same time you want that interface to be a sync interface, cluster plus sync both. So which means the interface will be having a common public IP, common virtual IP address. At the same time, the same interface can even be used for synchronization between the devices when that's possible. But this can be, you can opt this method, cluster and sync together on a single interface if you have an interface shortage, or else you can just go with a separate interface. So we have a separate interface for sync and we have a separate interface for cluster. So cluster means they have a virtual IP. Sync means just only synchronization will have. Private means they don't even participate in cluster. Okay, so these are the methods that we have, cluster alone, this guy, and now it's asking for the virtual IP. Can you see? The virtual IP address is 192.168.1.4. Right now, the mask is /24, and no IPv6 address. So let us go and modify this zone to be a inside zone. So new inside. Okay, fine. So yes, so we have inside and we have 1.4 as the virtual IP address for these two interfaces, and this is an interfaces the cluster type. Okay, and next thing we'll configure this guy, and we have to have the same. I think this is one, right? E1. What is E1? E1 is this guy. So E1 is used for what? Is not used for sync. Sorry, is not used for cluster. Is used for sync only. So we have to be synced so that there is no virtual IP concept, but the sync interface will be used to transfer the configurations and all. Okay, want this to be a sync interface. Okay, so there is no zone for sync interface. It's just a point-to-point connection. Let us go for the external. And if you see the external one, this guy, then also we have virtual IP address of 2.4, right? These two interfaces will listen to 2.4. Okay, so we're gonna go and put this guy as a cluster interface. So these guys are cluster, these guys are cluster, and the in-between one is sync. Let's go and configure that guy as also as cluster. Okay, so when you choose cluster, it will ask for the virtual IP 192.168.2.4, and then the mask is /24, and then the zone is new outside zone. Okay, I think we are done. And this is what actually it was missing earlier. Now we configured everything, so let's go and install the policy. So once the policy is installed, now we should be able to have the HA running on both the devices. And how many firewalls I can cluster, or in a cluster, how many maximum firewalls I can have? You can have up to 8 firewalls. 8 firewalls you can cluster, and you can have a load sharing method, or you can have a active standby method. So press install, and we should be able to see the policy succeeded. Okay, I think the policy is almost done. See the details. Yes, I think NEC succeeded. Okay, now they are in a cluster. See, now everything is in green. That's good. Okay, now we have 1.4 as a active IP, which who's taking right now. So see, you can even see who's right now primary and secondary. Let us go and see that is basically not selected automatically. I told this guy is primary and I told this guy is secondary or a backup, but the firewall can decide himself. And let us go and see who's active and who's backup. So when I select on backup, see, I'm selecting the backup device and what he's right now active, right? And another, which means the primary device should be the backup right now. Let us go and click on the monitor, and he is standby. Okay, so how can I change this status, right? You can change the status by clicking on the cluster, and you can go and click on cluster member, and you can go and I'm gonna say backup, edit, and I think this guy should be only primary, but he is in secondary position. Let us go and decrease or decrease. Okay, I think, I don't know. Install this policy. See, it automatically selects, but no, there is a way to make one guy primary, the other guy secondary. Let us go and install this policy and check who is primary and who is secondary. Also, there is a command line way to check. So in the firewall, you can go and you can admin 123. I'm on the backup device. Show CPHA. I think it's CPHA. Okay, CPHA probe state. Now you can see the active device is backup only. So still this guy is backup. So this guy, I'm checking on backup device. I'm checking on 3.2 device. That's 3.2 something, but this IP address. So we have this IP, right? So this guy says, okay, 3.2. This device is right now active. The backup device is acting like an active device, and the primary device is acting like a backup device. Okay, I think let's go and check this. Admin 123 CPHA prob state. Okay, so this guy is standby here, active standby. But I think so. Anyway, see, let us ignore, because since both firewalls are the same firewall, we don't really have any problem in this guy becoming active and this guy becoming a standby. Right? So it's a primary backup concept, but right now this guy is active and this guy is standby. Right? Now all we need is we want to check if we can reach internet or not. Right? And right now we'll just go and make this guy down, and our packets are going on this direction right now. But once we make this guy down, we should be able to reach the internet from this side. Let us go and see that. So first, let us go and create some rules for internet. I'm gonna go and create some security policy rules. I'm just gonna go and say new rule above. What it says. I think now it should be okay. I don't know what was wrong earlier. It was saying some unable to unlock the object or something like that. But anyway, let us go and do it now. So we have a rule called inside to outside, and we have the source as inside zone, someone coming from inside. So this policy will be pushed to now it will be pushed to whom? Right now, the policy that we are creating on the Chennai SMS will be pushed to 1 point the active device, this active device, and this device will return push the policy to the standby device. Okay, so here we have the destination is outside. Okay, and then we have the VPN, no VPN here. The service, all the service except, and you can also log it, right? And also I want to create a network address translation for inside networks. Let us go and create an object, new network, because we say inside network, and we're gonna have 192.168.1.0, 255.255.255.0. Network address translation. Okay, so they're gonna do hide NAT and on the gateway cluster. Okay, fine. So we have a rule, we have security policy, also we have network address translation rule, and also we have HA pair up. Let us go and push it to the backup device, and backup device will push it to the primary device, which means we are configuring on 1.4. Who's holding 1.4 right now? The backup device is having 1.4. So I can even, let me even add this. I think let me please wait. Let me check. Ping 191 street 1.4. 1.4 is not supported. So let's do this. I'm going to add one more rule. So saying that new rule above, I'm going to say allow ping, or I'll say management access, MGMT access. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and create a new object, new host. I'm going to say smart console, which is nothing but our device, smart console. And what is smart console? The smart console is the Windows 7 device, the one that we are actually using right now. 1.5 is IP addresses. Okay, network address translation. Since he belongs to that network, we don't have to separately do NAT for him. So we're going to create an object 1.5. Okay, so we're going to say smart console device trying to access the cluster IP. Cluster, right, which is nothing but what this is 1.4, right? Smart console is accessing 1.4. Then we want all the services to be allowed. Right, okay, let's go and install this policy. So what happens is we are even trying to reach the device with ping or SSH or something like that. So let's go and install this policy. So now once we install this policy, we can go to internet at the same time. We should be able to even reach the firewall directly. So I'm going to go and type 1.4. I'm going to reach 1.4. So let us see which device is acting like 1.4. Okay, the policy succeeded. So how the policy went? The policy went right now was 1.4. Right now this guy is 1.4. So the policy pushed to the backup because that guy is having the 1.4 IP address and it is pushed back to the primary device. Right now from here, if I try to ping 1.4 from 1.5 to 1.4, so obviously this guy will take the ping request and he will respond to us. So I think the policy should be succeeded. Yes, we have the policy succeeded. Let us go and try on the Windows Smart Console device. So last time it was not working, right? Now let us try. And you see 1.4 is working. Okay, let us go even and try to SSH to the device. I'm just going to open PuTTY application and let us see which device we are logging in when we try to reach 1.4. 1.4. Yes. Okay, username is going to be admin. The password is going to be admin123. And where we are in, can you see? When you try to access 1.4, we are where we are logging in. We are logging in the backup device because backup device is the one who's actually trying to have that 1.4 IP address. Got it. Okay, so the configuration is pushed to the backup and backup syncs that with the primary. Okay, good, good, good. So now let us go and check the internet access. CMD ping 8888. Okay, it's working. Internet is working fine. Also, I just want to show one more thing. If you want to have load sharing method instead of active standby, if you want to have load sharing method, then you can go and change this. So instead of this cluster, here you have instead of having cluster, high availability cluster, you can have load sharing and you can choose multicast or unicast option. Multicast is preferable. Okay, you can go and choose that. Okay, okay. Now the firewall will try to load balance. So they're going to be active both. So now the process will be shared equally. Let's install and check. Now both devices will be active. It is not an active standby method right now. It's going to be an active method. That's what load sharing is. So let's wait for the installation to complete. Okay, I think the installation is almost over. Let's go and check the monitor now. Let's see what backup is doing. Backup is active. Can you see backup is active? At the same time, primary should also be active because we have a method called. Can you see both guys are active right now? And if you see the HA probe state, the same command, now it's what? It's both devices are active. See earlier what it was 0 to 100, right? Active standby. Now what it is 100 active, and then we have the same thing here. Active 50%. Okay. But I don't want really the load sharing method. I want to go for the Excel, right? High availability method, which is I want to go for active standby. Okay, cluster Excel. Okay, install the policy. Okay, so once now we went to active, we went to active, and coming back to active standby. So I think now I'm not sure which device is going to take uh, uh, the active position, right? Maybe backup might take or backup might take or primary might even take. Not sure. Let us go and check this. So once the policy is installed, let us go and check. Let me click on primary and monitor. Okay, good. Now this guy is active. And we have this guy. So after changing the high availability method, now it has been changed. So primary looks active right now and backup looks standby right now. Okay, fine. So anyway, right now when you try to reach the internet, command prompt ping 192.168. When you try to read, sorry, ping, it should be ping. You are getting the reply, but you're getting from where? You're getting it from the primary device, right? You can even put you can put an SH on it and you can check it. So 192.168 1.4 admin 123, right? Where I'm in right now. Can you see the 1.4 is taken care by which device? It's taken care by primary device. Good. Okay. Now let us go and try whether really HA is working properly or not. Okay. So before that, I'm just going to go and save the configuration on both the devices. So save config on primary, save, because we're going to turn off one device. So we're going to save the configuration before that. Okay, let me go and ping internet. So after pinging internet, we should be able to see, I'm just going to go and, because right now this guy is the primary device, right? And this guy is going to be the secondary device. After breaking the primary, or after putting down the primary, this backup device should act like a active device, right? So let's go and try that. So I'm going to go and click on this mission, the same device. Let's go and make some unlimited ping -t 8.8.8.8. Ping is working, so all the packets are going via the primary device. You can even see it. Now when I try to see the ETH2 interface, we should be able to see all the traffic getting translated and going out there. Can you see? Packets, ICMP packets, ping packets are going. Okay. Now let us go and stop the primary device. So I'm just going to stop the primary device. You can stop it, or you can even disable the interface. I'm just going to go and stop him. So once you stop, you're going to have the ping failure here. So now can you see? We are receiving a request timed at now. Soon the secondary device or the backup device should know that, and he should forward the packet to the internet. Okay, can you see now? Now after even turning off the primary device turned off, we got 3 packet loss. Now the packets are going on the backup device. Let's go and make a capture on this interface, E2, and we should be able to see the ICMP packet going on here. Okay, got it. So now let us go and check the status in the firewall. So right now the primary device is not active. You cannot access the primary device. When you check the backup device, what is happening, right? So this guy is active, attention, because he has become active because of the primary device went down. That's what active attention is. And cluster XL inactive or mission is down, right? Because you don't see his neighbor on the other side. So he says, okay, cluster is inactive, or I don't know, something is wrong, or that mission should be down. Right? Okay, so that's it, guys. That's it I want to say when it comes to HA concept. And you can practice this HA concept in the same lab, the same way how I did it. You can also practice it. So if I any doubt, you can ask me. Okay, so then we can end the meeting here. So all the content that is left out will be discussed. I'll be informing about those classes soon.
Pawan, one doubt. So
Yes.
any virtual VM installation practice we can do something like that?
You cannot do it on our firewall. So you cannot do it on our lab, because in our lab, if you want to do that installation, you need some admin rights. What you can do is you can practice the VM installation on your device itself. There are many YouTube content, even I can refer a few things. So if you want to install and check.
So for that, can we get the images?
Yeah, the image is available in the internet itself. Let me go and show you. Install.
No, I tried we image. So images I'm not getting.
So you can go to this and you can click on maybe in this guy, and you can find this link here. It's a support link, and you can download. It's r80.in fresh install. So this will give you the ISO. And also here you have the installation process. You can have VMware in your PC and you can do it.
No, but for Palo Alto, it's not available.
Palo Alto, it won't be available. Checkpoint, you can try it.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I get Palo Alto VM image?
Palo Alto, my image is licensed image. I cannot share that. Maybe you can check.
I understood, but if
Maybe
other
you can
image,
you can check in the YouTube itself, right? If there is someone who can share Palo Alto firewall how to install, there'll be some videos in the YouTube also. You can check it. You can check that. Like how we have image for Checkpoint, you also have image for Palo Alto even. But I'm not sure how the Palo Alto installation process will be because there are multiple formats in Palo Alto. You can you can guide. There are many people in the internet. YouTube will be the right resource to know how to install Palo Alto or Checkpoint in your own personal device. You can use VMware to do that. You can use VMware, or you can install EVNG, or you can even use GNS3.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me try. If any support required, I will contact.
Sure, sure.
So next class, the spending.
The remaining topic next class, I'm starting new batch. So the remaining topic, I'll let you know, right? I'll call you guys in the Saturday batch when I teach all those leftover topics in one class. I'll call you guys, or maybe if you can't come, you can go and watch the recording of that batch.
Okay.
Okay. Fine. Okay, guys. See you. See you in the next class. I don't know when it will be, but soon when I teach the concept for the next class, I'll tell you. Okay. Fine. I'll end the meeting for everyone. See you guys.